In this episode, I will tell you some golden rules to live by in the Philippines as a man. Number one, you're not dating until you're in person, no matter how real it feels online. And LDRs do not work unless you are in the country with that person. I know you're not going to feel like that's true, but you have to remind yourself of this truth once an hour, every day. Remember that. You do not know what she's up to. You do not know what she's doing on her off time. You don't know if she's actually married or if she's exactly who she says she is, even though you've had video calls and talks for hours. All of that means nothing to many Filipinas. It's all a game, a scam, in order to get money from you. Number two, until you meet in person and have spent lots of time being around each other, and once the initial passion dies down a bit, you don't know if she's her yet. Give both of you and her the time and space to let your hair down around each other so you can see who the other person is when they're tired and grumpy, and this means months, not weeks or days. You don't really get to know someone in a matter of days or weeks. Most people tend to be on their best behavior when they meet someone because they want to show their best side, but not truly how they are on a daily basis. Living with someone is very different than just dating casually or having her come by your place once in a while or going to the mall, a park, vacation. Living is completely a different thing. Next, trust but verify. Give the other person some responsibilities, but limit what they have access to. Slowly build trust over time and increase what you trust them with. Don't just hand over the keys to the kingdom immediately. Gradual escalation. And no, you will not feel like this is necessary. Do it anyways. Be rational. Don't put your complete faith and trust into someone you barely know. Do not give them the ability and the power and control over your finances, your emotions, and even more. Keep that in mind. Trust but verify. Next, understand that her family is part of the deal. Filipino people are very tight and close when it comes to family. If you don't like them, they don't like you, or some combination of those two things. It should be a deal breaker. Most folks here cannot cut family ties as easy as we do in the West, so don't expect her to just abandon them to sniff after you. She might for a while, but it will come back up. Marry the family with the girl. This is very obvious if you've been watching any YouTube videos lately. There are dozens of videos letting you know if you marry a Filipina, you marry her family. It's because that's the truth. They will always be part of your life. If you cannot handle the family, you will have a very toxic relationship dynamic within that family and her together. Next, learn the language and customs if you really want to be in this country and be successful and somewhat happy in a relationship. You will be surprised how amazingly different your life will be if you know the language a bit compared to not knowing anything at all. Sure, you can get by, but if you're going to live here, why not try to be like a citizen or a local or someone that is well respected? So by learning the language and customs, the more you become kuya and not like the Kano, the happier your life will be here. You might never be 100% Pinoy, but you can get to 80% easier than you think once you decide to go with the flow and of the local customs and sense of humor, and stop trying to show them the better way to do things like back home. These people will never listen. They do not care. They are set in their ways. You cannot criticize them no matter how much you show them and you let them know the advantage of doing things the proper way, the right way. They simply do not care. Everyone seems to be on island time, if that's the polite way of saying it. Next, and if you don't like the lifestyle here, which happens, it's not for everyone's tastes, cut the cord and move on. This one needs to be addressed a bit more in detail. Oftentimes, I hear stories, see many expats that decide to sell everything and move to the Philippines because they watched a few expat vloggers tell them that the Philippines is paradise, that the women here are ample and they will throw themselves at you. The cost of living is very low, that this is paradise, it's not dangerous, and everyone is happy until the person gets here and realizes very fast that there's a very dark side to this country, that not everything is sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies, that the reality is very different. So, it doesn't help you or her to prolong the inevitable. The living in a place you don't enjoy hurts you and anyone who has to be around you. Let her find someone who does like her home country, or decides together that you're going to bring her back with you, which is a big no-no, definitely. But don't linger in limbo. Also bringing her back is a different can of worms, but that's another story, of course. How often have you heard men tell you the worst thing you can do in a Filipino relationship is to bring him back to your home country, to Canada, America, Australia, UK, wherever it may be, Europe. Do not bring them back, because they have many more options when they are back and they start to see how much more they can have without you around. A Filipino woman responds and says, "What you said is true. Among Asians, especially Filipinos, one marries not only the girl, but the whole family. It can make heaven or hell in any relationship, but family can be the best of help, especially if you have children. They are the most caring hands to raise the kids. Although that may be true, what will the family member expect in return? Very few times do Filipinos do anything for you without expecting some kind of cash reward or some kind of purchase of materials and goods they might need. Of course, there are hundreds of rules that you can live by to be successful and somewhat happy in the Philippines. Once in a while, I will release some tips and advice for those of you who have never been there, or for those of you who are there but are having a rough go at it. Yesterday, I told you why 5,000 to 10,000 Filipinos leave the Philippines if it's such a paradise. The best comment is from Craig Schurler. The reality is that 90% of Filipinos that go work abroad come home to nothing. The family they supported are the only ones that benefit. They know the money will be coming on a regular basis. The family will quit their jobs, lay around the barangay all day, and later in the day, it's all about eating and drinking Red Horse and pissing away the free income. Many OFWs will return after being gone for 2 years, only to discover that their hard-earned money has been wasted. After 30-day visit home, they are off again, repeating the same cycle over and over again. Who suffers are poor children who never know their absent parent. By the way, it's normal that women makes the sacrifice to leave. This is in regard to me addressing the sacrifice that some Filipinas make abroad to send money back home, just to find out it's been all wasted and gone. Most families do not treat their OFW with as much respect as they should. The worst comment is from Michael Kloby. If the Philippines is so awful, then why do you stay? I find this hilarious. Every time you mention anything, even though yesterday's video I said 13 different reasons as to why Filipinos leave, instead of focusing on the reason and maybe improving your country, all you can say is basically go back to your home country. A typical Filipino mindset. Thanks for watching. God bless.